you. Okay. At the start of the summit, we all saw that the loss and damage was put on the agenda after over 150 organizations pushed wealthier nations, to come back, to break down the resistance, to talk about the loss and damage facility and the loss and damages that are happening in our communities. But we still that there is slow movement, in putting action into the matter. There is slow movement in talking about how the loss and damage facility is going to be mobilized, the structures, the arrangements of how this money is going to be streamed to the vulnerable communities. And that is why we are here to still push our demands, to still raise our voices, because that's the only weapon we have. This is the only weapon that we can liaise to see that we are heard, to see that our voices are amplified. What do we want? What do we want? Now! And on that point, let me introduce our next speaker from Congo, KALONJI.
What do we want?
Climate justice!
What do we want it?
Now!
When I say climate, you say justice, climate!
Justice!
Climate!
Justice!
Climate!
Justice!
When I say climate, you say action, climate!
Action!
Climate!
Action!
Yes! I will speak in French because I'm from a French speaker country. You know that French speaker country are also affected by loss and damage. So, le français nous ont appris qu'après la pluie vient le bon temps. Mais dans mon pays, après la pluie, c'est le plaire. Les gens perdent de maisons, les gens meurent, les gens perdent même des écoles. Des millions d'enfants sont obligés à ne plus aller à l'école parce qu'il a plu. Cela est causé par les effets du changement climatique, les effets qui ont été causés par les pays du Nord. Pourquoi ils sont venus encore une fois à la COP pour nous annoncer des promesses? Nous ne vivrons pas des promesses, on en a marre, trop c'est trop. On a entendu beaucoup plus de promesses. Pays du Nord, vos actions nous tuent. Vos actions polluent nos terres. Vos actions polluent nos eaux. Pays du Nord, vos actions nous tuent. Vos actions consument nos forêts. Pays du Nord, nous voulons voir l'argent. Pays du Nord, nous voulons voir des actions. No more blah blah blah. No more blah blah blah. When I say climate, you say action. Climate.
Action.
Climate.
Action.
Thank you.
Okay, we all know that fossil fuels contribute 80% of global CO2 emissions, and these emissions, that affect the atmosphere, and the brutal impacts are felt in the global south. I'm talking about Africa, I'm talking about South America, the island, states. These are communities that face the brunt effects of the climate crisis, yet they contribute less. And when we arrived at COP, we as a youth, we had a lot of hopes, we had a lot of expectations in regards to, leaders talking about how they're going to phase out. Everybody, let's welcome Vanessa Nakate.
Pledges have been made, but promises will not stop the suffering of people. Commitments will not stop our planet from warming. Pledges will not stop countries from drowning. But fossil fuel emissions, they continue to rise. And increasingly, people are paying for all of these broken promises and pledges with their livelihoods and with their lives. We know many of the things that we need to do to avert the worst impacts of the climate crisis. And one of those is to stop all new fossil fuel expansion. That is for coal, oil and gas, and to massively accelerate a just transition to renewable energy while addressing the energy poverty in Africa and across the global south. Big oil and gas corporations are making $2 trillion in windfall profits this year, and yet leaders cannot seem to find the $100 billion that was promised to climate vulnerable countries each year by 2020. Fossil fuel companies are making $2 trillion in windfall profits this year, and yet they cannot seem to find the necessary funds to help people in Pakistan deal with the devastating flooding. Or the people who live in small island states which are being swallowed by rising seas, or the millions of people who are now facing starvation across the Horn of Africa. We cannot allow this to happen. We've waited for action and justice for so long. Rising seas will not wait. Droughts will not wait. Cyclones will not wait. Famine will not wait. People will continue to suffer if nothing is done about this. That's why we need our leaders to have a clear agreement to establish a loss and damage finance facility to help those that are on the front lines of the climate crisis. What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
If we don't get it,
Shut it down!
If we don't get it,
Shut it down!
If we don't get it,
Shut it down!
No more blah blah blah. Loss and damage finance now.
No more blah blah blah! Loss and damage finance now!
The people united will never be defeated.
The people united will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated!
I said climate, you said justice. Climate!
Justice!
Climate!
Justice!
I said climate, you said finance. Climate!
Finance!
Climate!
Finance!
When I said climate, you said justice. Climate!
Justice!
Climate!
Justice!
When I said climate, you said finance. Climate!
Finance!
Climate!
Finance!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
Are we gonna fight for it?
Yes!
Are we gonna get it?
Yes!
That's right, man!
To the bullets on behalf of the drenched school uniform, Azadi. To the life you nurture in the truth of Earth Mother, Azadi. May our daughters never need to fight again for this Azadi. In Farsi, Baloch, Kurdish, Pashto, Dari, Urdu, Azadi. Azadi!
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 Zan Zindagi Azadi!
Zan Zindagi Azadi!
Zan Zindagi Azadi!
Zan Zindagi Azadi!
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 Everybody give it up for Aiysha! As we all know, the Amazon, or call them the lungs, our lungs, they were attacked by people who don't care about the lives of the people, who don't care about the planet, and they were profiting out of it. And for a very long time, we have seen that people have stood up to speak up, to fight for themselves. And on that note, allow me to introduce someone from South America, from the Amazon, Illina.
My name is Illina Walinga. I come from an indigenous community in the Amazon. First of all, I want to start off with showing solidarity with the fight for freedom that's happening around the world to liberate women's bodies across the world, because that's the same fight as we're leading in the Amazon, and the fight that we're leading in the Amazon is the same fight that's going on in the rest of the world, where women are being attacked every day. If we don't fight for the freedom of women, we're not fighting for climate justice. If we don't fight for climate justice, we're not fighting for freedom for women. The Amazon has been a threatened place, a dangerous place for land defenders and its own inhabitants, its own people, because we're being attacked from the outside. In the name of fossil fuel, in the name of mining, even in the name of the green transition, because the resources that are coming for the green transition are coming from indigenous territories in the Amazon, Africa, across the world. We need to make sure that that transition is just, that there is justice in that transition, and that's why we need to be participating inside of the decision-making spaces. We need to sit on those tables. Because if we don't participate, if there is no justice, it's still exploiting indigenous territories and violating our human rights. It's still the same system that is oppressive and violent and that is killing, but now it's labeled greed. And that is something that we need to remind ourselves of every day, because we come here to COP and we're talking about the green transition, and everyone is celebrating the green transition, but we're not realizing at what cost we're celebrating that green transition. If we don't have we can't have climate action without climate justice. Indigenous people have been surviving these threats for thousands and thousands of years now. And in the last last decades, it's been even harder and harder when these attacks are coming directly to our territories and directly to our bodies from these industries, perpetuated by our own governments, perpetuated by multinational companies, perpetuated by banks, European, American banks that are investing in the destruction of our homes and the violations of our homes, when they are taking our freedoms from us, when they're taking our freedoms and when they're taking our ability and the right for us to give consent to our bodies and our land, because our body is our land and our land is our body. We need to make sure that Indigenous people are leading and are at the center of climate action, climate justice, because if we are not, there will be no climate justice.
We are here to remind, the global north, the policymakers, that we cannot solve the loss and damage if we don't go to the root cause of everything. That is why we still call out, the complete or total phase out of fossil fuels, because if we still have the fossil fuels, there is no way the loss and damage is going to be solved. Yes, we need a loss and damage facility, but we also need a total phase out of fossil fuels. This has to be a simultaneous run of things. We need substantial action. Total phase out of fossil fuels and the loss and damage facility, because it is our right. Okay? And now, speaker, we have Siddig from Sudan.
Hello everybody. My name is Siddig. I'm from Sudan. I'm very glad to be here with you in COP27. As you know, as young people, we have the power. We have the power, and I believe as young people, we have the power. So I have one message to all youth here. Repeat with me. Raise your hand. Please raise your hand. I will say what we want. You say we want climate democracy. And when I say when we need it, you say now. Okay? Okay. What we want?
Climate democracy!
When we want it?
Now!
What we want?
Climate democracy!
When we want it?
Now!
What we want?
Climate democracy!
When we want it?
Now!
Okay, I have another one. When I say it, let's people and youth, just you say vote at COP, okay? Okay, let's people and youth.
Vote at COP!
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 Louder. Let's people and youth.
Vote at COP!
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 Thank you, everybody.
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
If we don't get it,
Shut it down!
if we don't get it,
Shut it down!
if we don't get it,
Shut it down!
if we don't get it,
Shut it down! Bye bye fossil fuels! Hello 1.5! 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 Bye bye 1.5. Bye-bye fossil fuels. Hello 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 1.5. Bye-bye fossil fuels.
Because what do we want?
Climate justice.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Climate justice.
And when do we want it?
Now.
And are we gonna fight for it?
Yes.
And are we gonna get it?
Yes.
Because what do we want?
Climate justice.
And when do we want it?
Now.
And are we gonna fight for it?
Yes.
And are we gonna get it?
Yes.